Diane Price, President and CEO of Early Connections Learning Centers. As you know, we come to you from time to time with stories about our organization and the work we do in our community. And it's my pleasure today to introduce you to Kim Robertson, who is a member of the board of Early Connections Learning Center, but more importantly, a former parent. And Liz Denson, who's the Vice President of Community Engagement. Kim, tell us a little bit how you found us. I know it was around 2019,
That's right.
And I know the stories about how you got on the board, but how did you find us? What brought you to Early Connections?
Thanks, Diane. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. So I'll start actually by saying that, like many families, childcare has been top of mind for my husband and for me since day one of parenthood, because it's a challenge to find a high quality program that's convenient and has the schedule you need and has a wait list that's not 1,000 people long, and not to mention the cost of it. So it's always been top of mind. We had a great center in Boulder, and then when we moved from Boulder to Colorado Springs, we landed with a child care provider who had come highly recommended by a number of neighbors and friends and folks in the community.
Which is how most families find childcare.
Yes, exactly. Word of mouth.
Yeah,
You do tours, and then you do your own research, and then you land somewhere that seems like a good spot for you and your child. And unfortunately, a couple of years later, ended up in what I would say is kind of a parent's nightmare situation. When our younger daughter was 1.5, it came to light that the center where she was had way too many children, far more than what any of the parents had been led to believe. Therefore, the conditions were unsafe, and there was an intricate web of lies kind of propping all of this up to deceive families, and ultimately led to criminal neglect of these children. And this woman who owned the center and several of her associates are now in prison for many years because of it. So I should say, thankfully, our girls are safe and healthy and thriving, but I know that not all the families who were involved feel that way. And to me, the silver lining of that awful story, that situation, is that both of them ended up at Early Connections in the fall of 2019 at the Antlers location, which was a wonderful experience.
Kim, we are so sorry to hear about your experience that you and your family went through, but it sounds like your experience at Early Connections since coming through our doors has been nothing but positive. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So yeah, it was a very overwhelming time, and we feel really fortunate, especially given how many families were looking for care, that we landed spots for both our girls, who at the time were 1.5 and 4, at the Antlers location. And I actually really clearly remember being in this room, filling out some of the paperwork, and Melissa from enrollment giving me a huge hug. I think she could tell what an upsetting time it was, obviously. And that just showed compassion, professionalism. There's just a real transparency to everything about Early Connections, and I've always appreciated that, but coming off this other experience, transparency means a lot in childcare, to know your kids are safe and that the I's are being dotted and the T's are being crossed.
I'm so happy to hear that. And we're really lucky to have people like Melissa in our enrollment department to work with our families as they're coming in our doors.
It made a big difference that day.
I'm so glad to hear that.
So, Kim, I remember getting your email. I think a little bit. I think that your opening paragraph was, "I'd like to join the board," which was, I read it and I was sort of like, "Wow, somebody's like volunteering," because recruitment of board members is always, a challenge. But I remember reading a little bit in your email about your experience as a parent and some of the things you said about us. Would you share a little bit about what made you want to be part of our board, but also as a parent? What made us special for you? What are the things that we do as an organization for our friends to hear about that will kind of drive home who we are?
Sure. Absolutely. I was just telling someone this earlier today, and I think so often in the search for childcare, parents are presented with this false choice between a full-time childcare provider or a high-quality preschool or education program, and that never added up to me. I thought, why can't we have both? And I feel like Early Connections really proves that you can have both. We were blown away by the quality of care and education our girls were getting at their different ages. I think the teachers and the administrators are, as I said, so professional and committed to their careers, which is amazing because it's not an easy job. Again, the safety element and just knowing that every standard was being met or exceeded, from licensing on down, that was really important to us at that time. I'd also say the mix of families at Early Connections was a huge plus for us. I think we want our children to grow up knowing people who don't look just like them or come from families just like ours, and so I think the socioeconomic and other types of diversity within the student body and the family community was another huge plus for us.
I think that's important. We all go to the grocery store. We want to have our experiences for our children to be like our real life experiences are.
Exactly.
So, Kim, thank you for
Thank you.
being with us today. Liz, thanks for joining. I think for all of you out there, this is just another demonstration of how special Early Connections Learning Centers is, but more importantly, how committed the people are that walk through our doors each day and walk into our classrooms and provide love and care and nurturing and education to our youngest children, allowing them to have a good foundation in life and a good foundation in their early years. So thank you all, and you'll be hearing from Liz in the future with more videos about our Early Connections Learning Centers. Thanks.